Hello? Hello. Awesome. All right, so welcome everyone to my talk. Thank you so much for coming. I just need to get some very important logistical information out of the way. My name is Ebony. All of these opinions are my own. I've not been paid for any of these. I'm not advertising anything. No one has bought me dinner for this, but you're welcome to do so after this if you're interested. I also have some cookies up here, so you should help yourself. Thank you. Step right on up. Step right on up. All right, so my presentation is the goodnesses baked in how to get assurance into software. And so a little bit about me. I'm a sometimes teacher. I'm an avid student, half security professional. I used to be a software developer. I'm actually not a very good one, but don't tell anybody. So what do I do now? Right now, I am the lead for the test, security, compliance, and configuration management of my system. And it's really funny because most people ask me why security and compliance are different. And I'm like, if you have to ask, it's a problem in itself. So I'm also a tech lady mafiosa, and any other ladies in the room, if you're interested, it's a super awesome group. All you guys, sorry, next time maybe. This is my first time attending BSides Las Vegas. It's my first time attending Black Hat and DEF CON, and this is my first presentation. So thank you all for coming. And as a side note, I had a super awesome week, and I got some awesome stories that you want to hear about after this. So today's objectives. This is actually out of order, and I'm sorry about that, because Enjoy Vegas should have been the first item, and Share Knowledge probably should have been the third item, but if we can all leave without tears, then it's going to be a win for everyone involved. So today's agenda, we want to talk about what makes software secure and the ways to secure software and the results when you do it properly. So I just want you guys to know that you can interrupt me anytime you want. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to compliment me on anything that I have on, feel free to do so. Go.
These cookies are good.
I really didn't tell you to compliment the cookies. I told you to compliment me, but I'll take cookies. All right, so what makes software secure? There are a couple of different definitions of secure software. The CNSS, the DHS, organizations, management, users, developers, they all have completely different definitions of what secure software is. And I think that that is probably one of the main areas that it becomes a problem, because if software is secure, you shouldn't have 13 different definitions for it. Primarily for the CNSS and the DHS, it's any software that is repeatable and is free from vulnerabilities. For most developers, in my particular case, if nobody complains about it, it's secure to me, right? So it doesn't matter. For my management team, I've actually had a very difficult time explaining to them what software is, what secure software is, and they are always asking me for some buzzwords to toss around in their demos and their meetings to try to sell it. And so pretty much if the customer doesn't complain, they're happy, so it's like whatever. For organizations, they really don't care. I was like, if they can sell something with some kind of super awesome new word that's out, and they're going to put cyber into everything that they are pushing, then they're all in for that. And for most users, they don't even care what secure software is. So this presentation I put together actually for my management team to give them a perspective on why it's important to incorporate security into the software instead of sprinkling it on after the fact. So, any questions? We're good? All right, awesome. So there are a couple of laws and bills that are surrounding software assurance. And the first one is CISPA. The next one I'm going to talk about is the Cybersecurity Act of 2013, and then the NDAA of 2013. And so CISPA, it's not directly involved with software assurance. However, I incorporated it because it's a pretty big issue as far as privacy and security and where they connect, where they intersect. So CISPA was introduced, I believe, in 2011. I'm sorry. I've been drinking all week. I can't remember everything I was supposed to tell about this presentation. And it is currently in debates in the House. The Senate is in the process of drafting competing legislation. And there's a number of industries, a number of corporations that are interested in encouraging it. But for the most part, the bill was introduced to allow organizations to share information, threats information, quote unquote, to go through privacy information, to go through, you know, different things that you do on the internet and share with the government and other organizations that manage the security of the country, etc. So, the Cybersecurity Act of 2013 is actually a very new bill. It's currently, it was introduced in maybe June of 2013, I can't recall. But I do have notes if you want to know after this, it's not a big deal. So basically, these are some of the major points of the Cybersecurity Act. They want to secure against cyber attack, enhance the competitiveness of the United States. They want to enhance the security of the communications and information networks. And primarily, it's really being used to encourage more individuals to start to be involved in the assurance of software. And I think that's a really great thing because the government is starting to recognize that it's important. And while I question the implementation, I think that the idea is fantastic. So the NDAA of 2013 is a law that just got passed. It actually involves how the Department of Defense spends money as far as acquisitions and that sort of thing. And one of the most important things that I find is Section 925 in the NDAA discusses secure software and acquiring it and incorporating automated vulnerability scanning tools, incorporating security into all of the life cycle development phases, and what was the other thing that it did? Incorporating into life cycle development phases and using the static analysis tools and using the automated vulnerability tools. And so I think that that's really great, and I think that it's moving in the right direction as far as ensuring that you are a little past compliant, but I still feel that it needs some work, and obviously that's great because they have some time. They're actually in the middle of drafting the NDAA of 2014, and they're taking suggestions and starting to incorporate into those as well. But I'm not going to bore you with this. This is not important stuff. This is like, you know, behind the scenes stuff. But this is important for your management because security really has to go from the top down. As a developer, how many developers do we have in here? Awesome, you guys rock. So as a developer, it's really hard to get your management staff to really understand what security is and why it's important because they don't care. They just want money, money, money. And so you gotta explain how it affects the bottom line. And so the NDAA actually does that because for the NDAA of 2013, it actually starts to, like I said, require the automated vulnerability analysis. They start to designate secure software coding standards, and you have to start to incorporate your security development plan into your statements of work, into your contracts. So now the government's actually asking to show proof of how it is that you're securing the software. So I think that's pretty important. So what makes software, well, I can tell you what makes Snoop Dogg super awesome right here with this cupcake suit and all, but software secure. We're going to talk about the recipe, the environment, the ingredients, the equipment, and the results. So, a couple ways to secure software. This is actually a super awesome recipe. If you want to try it, I can give you these slides after this, but you can probably find it on Google. So, in my personal opinion, these are 4 things that I find to be really important when you start to transition over to secure coding with your team. And these are things that I found really important for my team because they were flailing for very badly. So the culture change and security as a business decision, education and awareness, and then secure coding standards, and of course test, and if you think it's done, test some more. So, questions? No questions? Good. Okay, awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about environment, and in terms of environment, we're actually going to discuss your organization in terms of my organization. So I work on a system right now, and we have a certification to house various types of data. And the problem with getting certification to house various types of data is that they want to come in and they want to scan everything, they want to check your compliance for everything, they want to check a bunch of boxes, they want to come in, they want to completely destroy your site, all your important development work that you've incorporated, they just want to bash it. So when we originally transitioned into the start of the secure software, our kitchen looked nothing like this. Our kitchen looked just like this. It was terrible. We had rats, we had roaches, they were doing all kinds of privilege escalation, it was SQL injection crashing the entire site. It was crazy. And so now, at this point, the management side actually started to understand why it was important, because they understood that this was going to be a hit to their money, this is going to be a hit to their bottom line. And I think that as a developer, if we can start to communicate that from the bottom to the top, I think that we'll be more effective in starting to incorporate security from the baseline. So, has anybody seen Soylent Green? I've done just one person? Okay, well, everybody knows the punchline, but I'm really disappointed. I was going to incorporate a video because I talked to like 50 people this week and nobody's seen it. This is a great Charlton Heston work. I'm not promoting it, but anyway, let's go. So, the ingredients in Soylent Green are people, and I've just ruined that movie for you, but you should still watch it because it's awesome. YouTube it, it's all over it. All right, so ingredients of making secure software. We have education awareness, secure coding standard, culture change, and peer review. All right, so education and awareness. Education and awareness becomes really important because, as I stated, until about 5 years ago, my team didn't even know what SQL injection was. And now, when I start to do interviews for other developers, when I start to bring in DBAs, I ask them, I'm like, do you know what cross-site scripting is? Do you know what SQL injection is? Do you know what cross-site request forgery is? They're like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I have Google. And I'm like, well, that's a good start, but I really feel like at this point, everybody that starts to go into this field needs to start to know that. That has to actually start being incorporated into classes, into teaching, into curriculum for colleges, like everything. It's really important to provide that baseline because that's what you're building everything else on. That's your foundation of all your money right there. So it's also really important as far as the developer goes because it's a career assurance for you. Management does not like to spend a lot of money on people. However, they will invest a lot of money in people that wear multiple hats. So if you can go in and you can do the development, you can check for the security, you can do the production, that's something that they're interested in. That's going to be super awesome for you. I mean, if you're trying to make more money, then that's where you need to be. If you want to advance yourself, then that's where you need to be. If you want to get some lackeys to do your work for you, like that's what I'm trying to do. So that's where you need to be. So that's going to be really important. As far as secure coding standards, there are a bunch to choose from. They're all over the internet. You have all sorts of different options. And actually, it's so funny because when I was doing this presentation, I didn't realize how frequently baked-in was used. And actually, Microsoft has a website about it, and there's a whole bunch of different things. But one of the secure coding standards and practices that we currently use on my team is from Microsoft. And they actually have an entire website dedicated to it, and it actually has some really good information if you decide that you want to look it up after this. The other thing that I like to use personally is OWASP, because while OWASP is really primarily volunteer and community-based, it provides a lot of information from a lot of different people from a lot of different environments. So you're not really limited to only what you are familiar with. You actually have an entire world of stuff, way more stuff than you. Peer reviews. Peer reviews become very important. We have a bunch of developers in here. I'm going to tell you, I have a developer on my team, and he literally writes entire pages of code on one line. And I think it's so terrible to go in and try to peer review something that goes in one line. And a lot of times, well actually for a long time, for several years, no one bothered to go in and see what he was doing because it was like, nobody wants to read this, what the F? So as it turns out, he was putting all kinds of information into query strings, it was passwords being shown, it was all kinds of crazy stuff. And nobody bothers to do that. And so peer review really becomes really important because, I don't know how interested or how aggressive of a developer you are, but I mean, sometimes you might be developing, 10, 12 hours, whatever, like it's nothing, and then you're just done looking at it. So it's really important to get this second set of eyes on it so you can start to collaborate and that sort of thing. So the last thing, and this is actually the very most important thing because I've mentioned it like 3 times already, it has to be a culture change. And one of the things that I find to be most important when I'm teaching or when I'm talking to management, and is anybody in management here? You can raise your hand. Okay, all right, you guys look cool, so it'll be fun. One of the things that I do when I'm teaching or when I'm talking to management, I kind of dumb it down a little bit. I compare it to something that they're already familiar with. When I tell them about cookies, I tell them about the sugar-free cookies that are not so great. I tell them about the cookies that already have the sugar baked in, and then I explain the comparison and contrast, and they're like, oh my gosh, why didn't you just say that in the first place? Like, I've been saying it for 5 years. So, I mean, it's very, really, really, really important. And like I said, the culture change really, it doesn't come from your team, and it's not enough for you to complain about it with your other developers, how beat down you are, how stupid your management team is or whatever. So it's really becomes important to start to explain that and to address the issue from the top down. So questions, concerns? No? All right, cool. All right, so now we're going to talk about the equipment. So equipment. I have security as a priority, collaboration tools, and peer reviews, because like I said, peer reviews are so important. But collaboration tools become really important, particularly if you're working with a team that is spread out all over the place, because you want to be able to address issues efficiently, but you also want to be able to share that information. If you're working 10, 12 hours and then you just like, okay, lesson learned in my head, see you later, it really becomes an issue because the rest of your team is like, okay, well, I'm stuck on this for another 3 hours. I don't know how to address this. You've already had this problem, but nobody's helping me with it. So peer reviews, I can't really talk enough about how important those are. So, excuse me. Somebody want to give me some water? Anybody? No? Okay. So security is a priority, like I said. I keep repeating it, but it's so important. Like, you have to really start. You really have to start from the top down. If management does not agree that the incorporation of security is important, then there won't be any investment in security. And that's really what we need, because you investing your time here, you investing in your lessons, you investing in your certifications, you investing in your hacking, you investing in your spying on your neighbors, it's not going to make a difference. Thank you, excuse me. It's not going to make a difference. And so, like I said, it's super important. And my management staff, they never even gave a second thought to security until they thought that the site was going to get shut down and they weren't going to get the contract again. So then it was like, oh my gosh, what do you need? Anything you need, just let us know. You can have the world. So the second thing I'm going to talk about are PANs. And up here I have the users, developers, management, and organization. So the same way that you don't bake cupcakes for the same amount of time that you are, wait, do I have any bakers in here? Bakers? No bakers? Bam, I like it. Did you break something? No.
Recipe books.
Ah, darn it. Well, I have an awesome white recipe cake in there, so yeah, we can do that. All right, so the same way that you wouldn't bake cupcakes for the same amount of time that you would bake a bundt cake or a pie, all of these different individuals have a different effect from the security. So users are affected by their information. So if there's an attack on a website, if there's an attack on a system, and you have all this important user information, and somebody starts using your identity, then that's going to be an issue for you. For developers, like I mentioned, it's really career security for you. Like, this is where you need to be. This is where the industry is going. I already talked about the NDAA of 2013 and how they have to start to incorporate the language into their contract work. So this is what management is looking for. So this is really, that actually probably should have been beer, but whatever. So this is really important. So as far as management goes, it's all about responsibility. And so that really becomes an issue, because if the site goes down, if the site crashes, whatever, yeah, you may be yelling at your developers because you felt like they should have been doing something different, But you as a management staff, you're the one that's getting in trouble. Nobody cares about the developer that's been working 8, 9 hours, 2 hours, whatever, because everybody thinks developers are slackers anyway. So that's really becomes important for you. And as far as organizations, it's all about reputation. Reputation is really priceless. You can't do, I can't even say, it's really difficult to get a reputation back. It's, once someone does not trust you, there's really nothing else to do. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to look somewhere else. They're going to buy somewhere else. So that's it. Questions? We're good? We're moving on. If this works. All right, so essential for the equipment are tools. You really need tools. I usually use toothpicks to make sure that something is done. These are a couple of items that you can use to make sure that your security is appropriately incorporated. I don't work for any of these companies. None of these companies have paid me. I haven't even seen these companies, but these are tools that my team regularly uses. Acunetics, I think, is really awesome as a vulnerability scanner because you can start to actually pull out false positives so they stop looking at it. And you can start to see how the attacks are done. And actually, it's a really awesome learning tool for anyone that's new to security because it shows you what was done to cause the error so that you can appropriately fix it. And then Nessus, has anybody heard of Nessus? Like everybody's heard of Nessus. This is like the primary tool used by the entire compliance team for DHS. Every time they go in, it's Nessus scan, Nessus scan, Nessus. Oh, you're missing 17 patches. What are you going to do about it? So anyway, Nessus is actually a really good tool as far as patch management goes. I really don't like the interface of it personally. Go. Yeah.
So the current version of AppScan has DAS and SAS built in. On your team, do you have different associates or different team members doing both, or is it shared, or do you do that with your team?
That is an awesome question. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, it's actually just me that does that. So I do it all. And actually, we just got AppScan a little while ago. It actually, I had to fight with 24 different people, literally 24 different people to get a enterprise license that we already had, that we already paid for, that they just didn't want to use. So yeah, it's crazy. So yes, that's me, all of the above. Also, the Telerik Test Studio is a Visual Studio plugin if you use Visual Studio to do any of your development work. And it's awesome because you can start to do bug tracking, and it's a really great collaboration tool, particularly, like I said, if you have a team that's spread out. And then AppScan, which was mentioned previously. It actually does source code review, so when you do builds and that sort of thing, you can check to see the information that goes back and forth between the different entries. And so it's great. The other option, of course, is manual testing, which is actually one of the reasons that I'm here, to get my manual testing up. So they have a lot of classes. They have a lot of different tutorials online. You have virtual machines. They have a lot of vulnerability practice applications. I want to say the DBWA and maybe where?
Buggy Bank.
What's that?
Buggy Bank.
Buggy Bank. Thank you, Lynn. I'll let it go. All right, so I thought this was really funny. It cracked me up. It cracked me up so much every time I read it. I know I'm so lame, but anyway, secure software is not magic. It does not just happen. It actually requires a lot of work, unlike baking, which is magic. I just wanted to let you guys know that. So, as far as results, so one of the examples that I got for results was from Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Massachusetts, and I actually like their incorporation of security into their process because as they have started to incorporate security into each of the phases, they've actually started to build guidelines and start to build standards within their team to start to address common vulnerabilities, to start to address common issues. And one of the things that I really like is that the technology instructor, he doesn't just tell the coders to do it and assume that it's okay. He actually starts to make sure that the environment is clean, that the environment is pristine, that they have all the materials that they need. So I think that this is a really great business model that they're starting to incorporate. And so, Davi actually likes this picture a lot more than I do, but I thought it was funny. One of the things about alternatives is that if you are not doing what your customer needs, if you are not producing what your customers want, they will go somewhere else. They always go somewhere else. And apparently this baby does not like baby food, but he will go to a breast in a hot second. So I feel like you're way too old to be there.
Never.
I feel like this talk is going all the way downhill. All right, so I found like a billion examples of what happens if the recipe isn't followed. But this is an example that I thought was really great because it actually put a monetary value to it. And like I said, you know, when you're talking to management, when you're talking to the top down, you have to associate it with the dollar figure because they won't care. They don't care. It's the bottom line. It's the money, money, money. I don't care. I don't care. So anyway, it was a SQL injection attack. The SQL injection was used to get access to a couple of SQL databases. They stole over 160 million credit cards. They ran it up in like 23 different countries. There's currently a case going on, and it was over $300 million that was missing. And you know, if you show your management team something like this, they're like, what the heck? So I had to temper my cursing because I'm on video. So. And the mitigation was so simple. As a SQL injection, who knows how to mitigate SQL injection in here? Exactly. It's like, it's so simple, but apparently no one bothered to verify that when you put a apostrophe into a entry field, it wasn't going to completely crash and give you access to all kinds of stuff that you shouldn't have had. So anyway, that was a great example that I really appreciated. So just as a recap, we discussed a couple of things of what makes software secure, a couple of different definitions. We discussed ways to secure it. We discussed some results. I got some resources here. I don't expect you to read that, but if you want them, I can give them to you later. Talk to me at the bar. Do we have any questions? Awesome. That means I wrapped it up. I hit this out of the park. All right. Wait. Question? No. Go. First question. No? No? Oh, yes.
Talk about changing culture.
Yes.
What's the most effective way now for developers to accept a culture change if they're already very culturally oriented?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Developers are very hard because their motivation is different from management. Management cares about money. Developers, maybe they care about a flexible schedule. Maybe they care about, you know, just doing something different, something unusual. And so really the thing that I found most effective is to find what their motivation is and then play on it. One of my, I made my team take leadership tests to see what type of leader they are. And all of them were team players except one. One of them was a country club leader. And what a country club leader is a person that prefers gifts rather than the benefit of uplifting the team. And so for this particular guy, you know, every time he comes in, I'm like, hey, did you have lunch today? Are you interested in a muffin? You know, can I get you anything? You know, how about I get you some books on this? I know you like to learn different things. Here it is. You know, this is where you need to be. And then you just kind of steer them in the right direction. But developers are really, really, really hard. So good luck on that. Questions? Anybody else? Go.
Just another one, you were talking about peer review. Agile's come up a lot, starting to get really popular. Is that something that you guys implement, or have you heard about that?
Yes, actually, we have been implementing a bastardized version of Agile for about 5 years. Last week, yes, as a matter of fact, last week before I went on vacation, we actually had an Agile workshop. My company encourages people to move to Agile because their product is produced so much quicker. And so, of course, you know, we have products going out quicker, money's coming in faster. So we actually do currently use Agile, and it's an awesome, awesome process for anybody who hasn't heard of it or seen it. I think it's fantastic. I think that the most difficult thing about Agile, though, is explaining to developers that it's a lot of freedom, but it's also within the confines of guidelines and regulations. Because they're like, oh, what? No documentation? No, slow down. There's documentation, it's just on the back end. So yeah, Agile is actually really great for that. questions, go.
You mentioned there are a lot of secure coding standards available. Do you have any you recommend or that you found useful to reference?
Well, the one that I found most useful to reference right now is Microsoft's security practices, because my team is primarily Windows-based, and so they trust Microsoft, and so it's a lot easier to start to incorporate it that way. When you tell your maintenance staff that you want to use something that's open source or something that's from the community, they're like, oh, wait, we don't have to pay for it. I don't know how great it can be. It's like, you know, if they're going to give it away for free, I don't want it. So, yeah, Microsoft is right now the one that we're using. Go.
So I'm the WASP chapter leader. To piggyback on that, why do you see so much pushback or resistance for some of the community work?
Why do I see so much?
No, your organization.
My organization.
Because a lot of people in the community that are part of the community are well-established thought leaders.
Well, you know what, this is true. However, my management staff, I don't want to say that they're not thought leaders because that's not appropriate. But what I will say is that they don't really understand the process in which it's produced, and they won't take the time. So it's really difficult to try to explain to them why it's important and how we can incorporate it, because as I mentioned, oh, you know, if it's free, I don't want it. It's no good. If they're giving it away, how great can it be? And so I'm really actually having to push and starting to incorporate it. And so I guess eventually once I can merge the Microsoft and the OWASP, I can get us off of it. So we'll see how it goes. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you about the laws that you presented early in the session. So 99% of the work we do is not for the federal government under contracts. Which of those or what aspects of them apply to us?
Well, the NDAA of 2013 primarily only involves the Department of Defense. So if you don't have government contracts, that really doesn't apply to you. However, the DHS is actually starting a working group. It's called the Software and Supply Risk Working Group. And so they are actually starting to require anyone that produces software to start to incorporate the security, because it cuts down on the number of vulnerabilities that are introduced to various systems that connects to government network. And really the reason that this becomes an issue is because most of the vulnerabilities that are introduced are a result of third-party software. So, questions? Anyone? I have some awesome cookies up here. Anyone? Bueller? I am Mrs. Awesome. You can find me on Twitter at Mrs. Awesome, so if you're interested. That's where I am. All right, so thank you guys so much. I'm really disappointed that no one ate these cookies. I feel like you probably felt uncomfortable. Leon, you were in it. Leon, you only ate one though. So thank you. Have a good one.